sorry, hang on, I'm collecting my thoughts.
No, you're good. There's a lot of, we're talking about like 20 different souls at once right now. Ladies, gentlemen, and those with the good sense to do away with the whole notion, I welcome you to the premier audio medium for all your Fazbear entertainment needs. The Freddy Fazbear Pizza Podcast. Note, FFPP is not responsible for any loss of appetite, disinterest, dismemberment, or other legally classified statuses. So strap in and enjoy. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Freddy Fazbear Pizza Podcast. I'm your host with the toast, Rye Toast, here with a very special guest. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hello, everyone. It's HyperDroid here. Yeah, it's great to be on here. I've been watching the podcast since the first episode.
Oh, I'm glad to hear it. So we'll be talking about FNAF as we always do. I guess we'll just get right into the topic. So today's topic was it's a bit broad, but it's specific in its scope. The Help Wanted to introduce the idea that the previous games were, and pretty much all of the previous games with what's referenced within Help Wanted, but we'll get into it. The previous games were indie games in universe made by a developer hired by Fazbear to cover up things that happened. So the main topic we're focusing on today is like, to what extent does that change how we interpret those games? Right? Like, how much does that cover all the games? Does that cover everything within the games? And then if it does cover everything within the games, does that mean we can't trust anything in them? So I guess with that stated, I guess if you'd like to take the floor, what are your initial thoughts on that?
Well, I think we might be on opposite ends on this, because I personally think it's just, I think 6 is referenced in one of the books, right? Freddy,
yes, 6 is referenced recently. Yeah. Someone was like, "Oh, I got Mr. Hippo and Freddy Fazbear's
yeah. Oh yeah, it was Orville Elephant. I remember. Yeah.
Orville Elephant. Yeah.
Yeah, but so I think that it's just, in my opinion, just 1 to 6 were created, not the actual 1 to 6, like not the ones that we play through, but I think just games that are basically the same. Like, they might as well be the same, but they're basically the same. And that they're not, I don't know, because some people say, like, it might as well be a reboot point where it's like, because they're all games, it might as well just be a FNAF reboot. And I have been thinking about it recently, because at this point with the whole M.M.E.X.E stuff and all that, this whole new story might as well be a new story itself. So you almost could just say that 1 to 6 is a reboot. But in my opinion, I just think that, I think those events still happened. I think personally we can trust those events. But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I do think it's 1 through 6. I know there was some confusion with the Help Wanted story when it was presented. That was just 1 through 3 and parts of 4.
Yeah. Yes.
But then if you Help Wanted games, since it references like every single game 1 through 6, I think you might even be able to put Ultimate Custom Night and FNAF World in there as well.
I'm hoping we get Ultimate Custom Night and Help Wanted too, like something like it.
Oh, that'd be
that
good.
Would be cool.
And FNAF World specifically, not because it's necessarily referenced by Help Wanted or anything like that.
Oh yeah, FNAF World.
I was looking at the character encyclopedia, and it keeps referring to FNAF World as like an online RPG or like some like it keeps referring to FNAF World as something that it definitely isn't.
It was never online, so I don't know.
It was never once online, and so I wonder if it's referring to it that way because maybe in universe FNAF World does exist and it wasn't.
Yeah,
like maybe, but that's kind of stretchy. But I do think it's at least 1 through 6 for sure.
Yeah.
That being said, as far as to what extent is untrustworthy, I hesitate to say it's anything specifically intended at the current moment. I do wonder if the whole purpose of it is just so if they get some, like those games as of right now, they're 1-to-1.
Yeah.
But if something comes out that contradicts an older game, the new thing is the correct one.
Yeah, they can just go, oh, retcon. It doesn't matter anymore.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I don't know. Either that or like maybe the distinction comes between gameplay versus like lore mini games.
Yeah. Yeah, that's because that's right. The mini games, they're not like exactly obviously what actually happened. Like they're just
Yeah.
mini games. So it could be like a case of the events could be real, like everything could be real, but it's just not how we see them in those games.
Yeah, it's like interpretations of it.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
I mean, even see that with things like the circus baby minigame in Sister Location. Like we've already kind of had that where
yeah, that's right.
Yeah, like Circus Baby killed Elizabeth, but it probably wasn't in an open field. You know,
not with like a bunch of kids there as well.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I could see something like that, and I do wonder. I wonder if that's going to be used to finally get rid of the dead child incident. Because
the toy,
that whole part of it, I don't know if it was even intended to separate the MCI and the DCI.
Yeah, I've seen.
I could see that just being a mistake.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of like, especially with like things like Molten MCI, which is the theory that Molten Freddy, all that. But it's like I've seen people say like you said it, I think, that the DCI might as well have some importance by being Molten Freddy, because currently they kind of just exist for the toys to act differently, like to have a reason to act all haywire. But besides that, they kind of just appear and disappear in the same game. So I do see why
it is
people,
weird.
Yeah.
Especially considering the line, like how it lines up with Follow Me, but then also the tombstones in FNAF 6.
Yeah.
That seems odd.
Yeah,
because it could be clean if the toys go into the Molten Freddy, but then the tombstones I feel like definitely are of the MCI kids.
Yeah, it would be. I feel like it would be weird if they weren't, because it would be like, why are you showing us the FNAF 2 names and not the FNAF, like the main characters, basically.
I mean, the only other way I could see it, and I think I've said this before, I don't remember. Weekly videos rot my brain.
Fair enough.
I think it could be explained with soul splitting, which I haven't gotten to the point in the Silver Eyes where it really, and Fazbear Frights where it really delves into that. So I'm loose on the details there.
Yeah, soul splitting. I think the main thing it's used for is for the whole Molten MCI thing, with how they can still appear and trap Springtrap and all that, but they're also in the Funtimes. It's very iffy, and I completely understand why people are like, that doesn't make any sense. Like, that's kind of
it's a weird plot point.
It is. It is. That's like the main thing that, in my opinion, is like the biggest possible debate against Molten MCI is soul splitting. It's just such a weird concept, no matter how you spin it.
Yeah, and it never fits cleanly. Like, I get, because you could even say, like, well, we see in the toys and then the Funtimes and then even in Molten Freddy to an extent that none of them are stable. So, like, sure, that could come from a split soul, and you could even make that argument. But then you look at Follow Me, and they look incredibly stable there.
Yeah,
so, like, so is it just a matter of, like, they only took a little bit? Like, that's strange to me.
But that's also, like, that's just a problem with how Scott's done the lore, by doing it game by game and not really having that big of a grand plan. But
you know, I mean, that could go back to the indie games. I wonder if maybe instead of getting rid of DCI, it could down the line give us more information and have one of the groups of children go to Follow Me and the other one go to Molten Freddy.
Yeah.
Like maybe Follow Me takes place in the FNAF 2 pizzeria.
Follow Me in the FNAF.
Like in the games presented, we have that's the FNAF 1 pizzeria for sure in Follow Me.
Yeah.
But maybe with indie games, if it's changed that Follow Me takes place at the FNAF 2 location, and like the indie game dev got it wrong or whatever, then that can be a very short side story to this whole narrative where like those FNAF 2 animatronics are like the dead child incident, they move on, and that's why they don't really matter anymore, whereas MCI keeps going all the way to Molten Freddy.
That's true. That they have a very easy device to just go, this doesn't matter anymore now.
They could just change that and forget about it.
Yeah, any inconsistencies can be like, oh no, it doesn't matter, it's fine.
Yeah. I mean, you can even lop the Bite of 87 under that, where it was like the first big mystery for the first like 5 games, and then it just isn't important.
It really isn't. I think that's why everyone puts things like Crying Child, they want him to be Fredbear, Golden Freddy, all that, because or else some things are just not important. Like, if the Crying Child isn't Golden Freddy or doesn't do Happiest Day, blah, 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 he isn't really important. He's kind of just motivation for Michael, I guess.
Yeah. And it also comes down to, if that doesn't happen, then like the Bite of 83 also isn't important, you know?
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
That's why the indie games is it's a weird territory where Scott could just say like, none of that's like, the main things that matter is that a few kids disappeared, you know, they all burnt, blah, blah, blah. Like I forgot what I was saying.
I do that all the time. I feel like it could also be talking about a design, like slight design tweaks and retcons as well.
Yes.
With things like missing buttons, like a whole thing. Early FNAF was like, how many toes does this animatronic have? Whereas like they might just be like, hey, it looks cooler if it has this many toes. Just pretend it always has.
It's like Springtrap and Scraptrap. They're pretty different. But they're meant to be the same character, so.
And so is Bird Trap. Like that's, I mean, maybe.
Yeah.
You know,
Wow.
But like you follow this rabbit animatronic and it like loses and gains limbs every single goddamn game.
It makes you think that Scott just went, yeah, that looks cool. It didn't really think about anything, really.
Which, hey, Scott, of all the designs to retcon, your worst design into... your best design into one of possibly your worst designs. Not a good retcon.
Questionable choice.
I do think that the FNAF 6 designs are not true to the actual timeline of FNAF. I think the indie games are in that as well. Specifically with like...
Sorry, you go.
No, you go.
I was going to say, because there are the Scrap Baby plushies in Help Wanted, and then also the Dr. Scraptrap. I don't know about Molten Freddy and stuff.
Well, Dr. Scraptrap and the plushes and Dr. Scraptrap could also be explained by the fact that they are introduced within Help Wanted and within those indie games. Whereas whatever they actually looked like at the pizzeria could have been
completely
different.
What I mean?
Yeah. And especially with Molten Freddy, and I stand by this, I think the reason why the Tangle's face is Funtime Freddy and not Molten Freddy is because Molten Freddy never quote-unquote existed. It just, whenever Baby leaves Ennard, it just becomes a massive Funtime Freddy again.
Yeah, because I remember that was one of the first theories about the Blob or Tangle or whatever, was that it was the remains of Molten Freddy somehow with extra people or whatever.
Extra stuff. Yeah.
It does, I don't know. It's be
loose.
Yeah. It would be, I don't know. I think people would be frustrated with that though. If Molten Freddy wasn't, you know, how we see it in FNAF 6 and that whole storyline with it doesn't really happen, I think people would be like, because then at that point, then anything could just not be real. You know,
true.
All the animatronics could still be there, and everyone can still be free. Not free. They can still be trapped in the machines. All that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I could see that because there's also, I mean, we say that, right? But if we look to FNAF 6 to Security Breach, and now. All of this is speculation, as everything we say here is. At this point, everything is speculation in this franchise. If we have at least a loose connection from Scraptrap to Burn Trap, and then Molten Freddy to Tangle, and you could make the argument that the marionette to like the weird puppet references around the Pizzaplex.
Yeah.
there's not a clean fit for Scrap Baby. So it's a matter of, okay, is this intentional that all 4 of them kind of have a link except for Scrap Baby? Or have we not found that link yet?
Well,
or is there no link and it just
some people have been trying to say it's Mimic, but
I mean
that could be I don't know. I get what you mean.
You know,
though.
I do
kind
of want to pick your brain. This is off topic, but on the topic of the Mimic, before we keep going about indie game stuff, I'm curious. What do you think Burn Trap and the Mimic are the same character?
I do, but I also at the same time don't really think it matters too much anymore. Just because I don't really think Burn Trap. This might be like, but I don't think Burn Trap existed. I think what the Ruin DLC was telling us is that Burn Trap never existed. It was just Gregory fantasizing about different outcomes and different things that could happen. And because we know that when Vanessa was under control, she had this whole like childhood of kind of Elizabeth, but like not really, where she was like, it was kind of like Afton. It was Billy. Was it Billy or Willie?
Billy A.
William. Yeah, Billy A.
Yeah, so Billy A.
Yeah, so it was kind of like she was thinking of Afton. So when the same thing happened to Gregory, he could have had some sort of like just thought of Afton, and that might have inspired Burn Trap. But
I could see that. My only hesitation would be that the tangle's real. And it's in the same.
Yeah,
drawing.
It's very.
So that'd
annoying.
be my hesitation.
Yeah,
it's very annoying. Everything about Ruin, while very good game, is a little annoying.
Yeah, it's. It makes you think how much of the Burn Trap ending is canon anymore, because you're right.
Yeah.
Tangle still exists. It's still there, but also the damage from the Burn Trap ending isn't there. But then again, that might have just been because it's just for the animated ending and the assets from Security Breach weren't that. So it's like, you don't know if they're just cutting corners, if they're just, don't know.
Especially if Tangle, I hold true that the Tangle like Easter egg at the very beginning of the game, I think that's only there so that we didn't immediately assume the Burn Trap ending is at all not true at all. Especially with how the Scooper ending is animated. Like, they didn't just reuse the animation, but they did make the Scooper look very similar to that ending. And if the Tangle wasn't in the beginning, I'd be fully on board with like, oh, Gregory just saw this happen before and then just interpreted that in a comic.
Yeah, I wish we saw more of the Blob, because that would have like...
Yeah.
We still don't know anything about it. We're like 9 books deep into Tales, and we don't know anything.
I think the closest thing with Tales was, I still hold true that I think in the Tales timeline, and possibly in a similar or the same with the games, whatever the storyteller was turns into the majority of the Blob or the Tangle. Because like, why else would you set up sprawling wires throughout the entire Pizzaplex with a head in the center of it, like, and then show us the Blob, which is the same thing.
That's true. But then my main issue with that, I agreed with you at one point, but when I was thinking about it a bit more, my main issue is that that means that it's the Mimic virus as well. So then you have the Mimic, but then also the Mimic virus as like the Tangle. So you have 2 different Mimic villains. And if you say that Mimic is Burn Trap, which, it would mean that there are 2 Mimics fighting each other. Like,
yeah, the fact that the Blob is antagonistic towards the Mimic and Burn Trap. Well, I guess we don't technically know if it's antagonistic towards the Mimic, if it's not the same character, Yeah. But it at least definitely is the Burn Trap, which is probably the Mimic.
Yeah.
That would be strange that it would be trying to attack it. Because the Blob seems definitely, like, more than anything in this game, that screams agony to me.
Yes.
It's just how, like, violent and just noise it is.
Yeah, 100%. That's why I think it's, like, the agony of the adults who got just mauled by the Mimic in, like, the
I could see that.
epilogues, I think it was. Yeah.
I just thought about this now. How many teens total die in the epilogues? Is it 5?
I think five, maybe six. Wait, I'm trying to think because
because I know one survives, right?
yeah. At the very end.
I feel like 6 went there originally. I was wondering if there's any link between the amount of teens and the newspaper, because the newspaper was 9.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. I remember when the epilogues first started, people were connecting those. That like the hairstyles looked similar or whatever.
And we could say, and you could argue that one silhouette kind of looks like Gregory, so that's 1.
Yeah.
And then there's 8. So if we have those 5, then we're looking at 3 adults. But if I remember correctly, like there's a lot of construction workers that got killed by
there's a lot. Yeah,
there's more than 3.
I remember I saw a kill count the other day on Twitter. It was like the Mimic has like 52 kills or something stupid.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Just
I like the Tales books, but they're surprisingly graphic.
Yeah, they are. I'm surprised they're considered children books.
Yeah, like young adult. Are you kidding me? Like, don't get me wrong. I'm not like one to be like, oh, we got to protect the kids or whatever.
Yeah,
but like,
yeah. But
they're
still.
at Scholastic book fairs, and like one of the pages was like, she heard the snapping of her bones. I'm like, what are you talking about?
Imagine that being read to a bunch of kids in class or something. That would be ridiculous.
Or, I mean, honestly, one of the worst is just the Mimic, where he literally uses the dude as like a door battering ram. Like that's so detailed.
I don't know how it's not like it is young teens, right? It's not just kids.
Yeah, I think it's not kids. I think it's typically in the young adult section, which is what I understand to be like 16 to 20.
Okay, yeah.
Is the like range for books. Like that's where you would put like your Hunger Games and whatnot.
But it's because it is incredibly violent sometimes.
Oh yeah.
Like
but like more than the past 2 series for sure. Like I didn't read a lot of Fazbear fights, but I don't remember people getting like brutalized in that. I guess except for the pain wheel or whatever it was.
Yeah, I mean it's good for the people who are like, oh, FNAF needs more gore or whatever. It's perfect for that. Absolutely.
There you go. Read the books. Yeah, I got so distracted by how violent the books are for the missing people, right? Yeah, I do see a lot of like the blob just being a mass of agony. Because that could also be the only way we get Burn Trap existing, but also being the Mimic. Is that weird possibility of it just scooping up Burn Trap, scraping off all the agony and being like, well, I don't need this endoskeleton, spits it out.
Yeah.
Like, that's the only way I could see that.
Yeah.
If Burn Trap exists as we see him, I don't see how he goes into the Mimic after.
Yeah, that's a good point. I've seen the common theory right now, I think, is that the blob kind of grabs him still, but like it basically, like you said, it drops the endoskeleton. It basically just skins it of the, the suit and all that. But then I think the hands different. So that would be like, because it had the bones or whatever mixed into the fingers. So it's
the Mimic is definitely multiple endoskeletons. Like you look at it, it's like each limb.
Oh
is different.
yeah. I think I saw something the other day that was like there's pieces of like FNAF 1 endoskeleton, FNAF 2 endoskeleton, 3, all that, all in just the Mimic's model.
Which tracks with something that can repair itself. So that and it's in like we don't see this in the games, but I remember in M.X.E. it stated that like every Pizzaplex has just a basement of spare parts, and you could argue that like Endomaze is like that, but like specifically like it's full of just every spare part you could imagine.
Yeah, and also remember you see in I think it's Rockstar Row, you see like Fazbear Entertainment has parts from the past, right? Like it has the telephones, I think it's the Foxy body or whatever,
like torso that's so rusted, incredibly rusted.
Yeah, it's incredible. That might see, even with that stuff, with the whole indie game thing we were talking about a while ago, I think how to you, because I'm on the opposite side to you, how would you explain that stuff if the indie games are meaning everything didn't really happen?
Well, I don't know if it is that everything didn't really happen. I think it's more so like everything can be inaccurate, right? Like, I don't think that everything is necessarily inaccurate. And I think most of the designs generally are the same, especially like if we see one in the current games and like, okay, got it. That one was the same design.
Yeah.
But if we see something that is a different design now, I would lean towards the new one. And that's where I'm at with like with the Blob, where I'm like, I still think FNAF 6 happened in the like a pretty similar way to what we see, if not the same way. But maybe the animatronics that were there looked different is kind of where I'm at with that.
Yeah.
Because after all, that's where it comes down to the real speculation of like, well, the indie game dev wouldn't have seen the FNAF 6 animatronics, where he would have seen like the things from the original restaurants.
Yeah.
So like with the nightmares, with specifically 4, 5, and 6, if he would not have actually seen those before making the games, realistically.
Yeah, especially with 6, because I don't think... I mean, it depends if you want to consider the final cutscene where it shows Scrap Chat burning, Scrap Baby, all that. If you want to say that those are like actual cameras of inside the vents, and maybe Fazbear Entertainment found the camera footage or whatever.
Because we do see that there are cameras set up in, unless they got set up after the fact, but if we look at the pizzeria, there are cameras in there.
Yeah, that is true, yeah. So there's, I don't know.
I could see that. I mean, technically, well, to be fair, we only have visual proof of 3 of them burning, which still bothers me.
Yeah, I don't know why Lefty wasn't shown.
I don't know why Lefty wasn't shown, and I also don't know why in Security Breach and Ruin we only see 3 burner rooms. I'm like, what are you cooking, Stillwell? What's going on here?
Yeah, that is weird.
Because it's set up in a way, it would be one thing if it was like 2 of them downstairs, 1 more. But if I remember, you go downstairs and it's 3 in a row, right?
Yeah.
Because that's the burn traps area where like one in the middle, one on either side.
Yeah.
So like, is there 1 more that we just don't get to see? What's going on?
Yeah, I don't know why Lefty was not forgotten, but like not shown burning. Like, why did we not see Lefty burning? That seems like you're showing all of the characters burning. Why not Lefty? Like, you talk about Lefty, you show the FNAF 2 minigame instead of just showing Lefty burning.
Like, I get, like, maybe it's a matter of just, like, since the marionette is ostensibly, like, more of, like, a quote-unquote good character, then it might just be like, okay, this seems too harsh of a damnation or whatever you would call it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, Henry's not burning them out of malice, you know? It's more of a matter of this is how you release this spirit.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I will say that's the one thing that does have me considering Charlie still being on the table, as much as I'm afraid to say that out loud.
Yeah.
Just because, like, that's the one thing that I'm like, why didn't we see Lefty burn?
Well, yeah, with that then, what are your thoughts on Happiest Day? Where they all are freed.
I think I believe in the encyclopedia there, where it specifically says, like, in Happiest Day, we see... let me just grab it, because I'm going to misquote it. I do not remember. Charlotte Emily's page, which is really annoying, because they kind of combined the book Charlotte and the game.
Book and game,
made a very confusing entry. Yeah, literally, it's called Have Your Cake and Eat It as well, which kind of implies it does both. But once they are, Charlotte wearing the puppet mask encounters 5 children wearing the mask of various animatronics. The children, including Charlotte, vanish. The masks drop, 6 balloons rise, indicate they've been released. And on the side, Charlotte's spirit lingers on as more spirits are still trapped inside metal prisons, and Afton is still present, which is why she is still active in Pizzeria Simulator inside of Lefty. Not only would that imply that she doesn't move on, she just helps them move on, it also implies that Happiest Day happens before FNAF 6.
Yeah.
Which is strange.
That quote is one of the things in the encyclopedia that I'm like, why is that in there?
Yeah.
But
yeah. Why'd you say that? Why'd you make that happen?
It does linger on. That is true, but it still hits the ground. Like, it still hits the ground with the others, and it still does the same thing. It lingers on a little longer, but it still does that. So it's like,
yeah, I don't know. It's so strange.
Because
I do think Charlotte is at least active until partway through Ultimate Custom Night. Because in my
Partway
mind,
through.
right, my mind is that FNAF World is Happiest Day, like the sequel for everyone still present at the FNAF 6 fire. And that's mainly because of how weirdly linked FNAF World and UCN are.
Yeah.
I think they happen at the same time. I think the Vengeful Spirit does
Okay.
UCN, and then Charlotte does FNAF World.
Okay, we agree on that then. We agree on that.
Okay.
Because I always, like, with where I place Ultimate Custom Night and FNAF World, I always kind of consider them, like, at the same time. Because they're both...
And also, in Ultimate Custom Night, the puppet says, like, I don't hate you, but you need to get out of my way. Which makes it sound like the puppet's doing something.
Yeah, that is true. The puppet is doing something. And in Ultimate Custom Night, there are the Easter eggs of FNAF World characters. Like, Old Man Consequences, he's there.
Yeah.
And then you also have, like, a bunch of... I think even the Tangle, like, the Tangle character from FNAF World is in the desk.
On the desk or something.
Yeah, on the desk. So it's like, it seems like...
Even the shared achievement, like if you do the Old Man Consequences thing in UCN, you get the achievement in FNAF World.
Yeah, so they're connected, but also Scott has said, like, he's kind of disowned FNAF World. So,
which is weird of him, because once again, Scott making weird decisions where, like, the best things he dismisses or retcons, where FNAF World, one of the most fun games to play, is completely disowned.
The thing is, the way he said it as well was like, I think it was in Dorko's interview, he said that FNAF World, he regrets tying it to the canon, which implies that it is connected and it's too late to change that. So it makes me think, like, Happiest Day is kind of like FNAF, because sorry, hang on, I'm collecting my thoughts.
No, you're good. It's a lot of, we're talking about like 20 different souls at once right now.
Yeah, there's so much FNAF, just so much.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, so in Happiest Day, we see the four main guys, Freddy, Bonnie, Chica, Foxy. They have their masks on. They already have them on.
Yes.
They're already ready to go. And then you have Golden Freddy's spirit, who would be Cassidy, and then you have Charlie, who would be the puppet. They're the only ones who aren't ready yet, which is why I think Happiest Day happens after they both finish FNAF World and Ultimate Custom Night. So after Cassidy is kind of done with Ultimate Custom Night.
So it's like the capstone. Like, they do that, then they do Happiest
And then they're like, okay, now it's time. And they put their masks on and they both kind of just go.
I could see that. I see that happening. And then it would just be a matter of, in Follow Me, the ghosts, like, after William is defeated, the ghosts, like, disappearing up. That's more of just like, okay, we're moving on to the next thing. Not we're moving on, period.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I could see that. That makes sense. I see it going either way, because I could also see Follow Me happens, and then Charlotte and Cassie kind of in the spirit world just like, hey, we need to do something about William. I'll go get more kids. You focus on him, and then they do whatever. You know what I mean? Like, I'm sure it's not that direct, but you know. That makes sense.
Yeah, because that was one of the things that when going back and looking over stuff, I was like, why is Golden Freddy and the puppet are the only ones at the end who just don't have their mask on yet? It's like they're both still doing something while the other ones have already rested. Like, they're already ready to go.
Now, in Happiest Day, we've been saying Cassidy. Do you think that the child they're trying to help is Cassidy, or the child they're trying to help is the crying child?
This is one of the things that I don't know. I think
because it is strange.
Yes, it's one of the things I've been thinking about is whether Crying Child actually does possess Golden Freddy, or if it's genuinely just Cassidy. It's because
actually, before we get into that, let's switch over to our questions so we can come back to this topic in general, because one of the questions I pulled, we'll go to this one. Sir Hammy, he, him, thank you for your question. Golden Freddy, is it Cassidy, Crying Child, both? Follow-up question, who would the Vengeful Spirit be?
Mm.
So yeah, let's talk Golden Freddy.
Yeah, there's a lot to talk about Golden Freddy.
Yeah,
I
that's why I'm like, we're only like a half hour in, but this can go for like another half hour.
I think I think Golden Freddy is just Cassidy, but
Okay.
but it's weird because at the same time, I think Crying Child is also the creator of some sorts of Happiest Day, but I don't think he's actually there. Like it's weird. It's weird to
Mhm.
explain, which is why I'm not so sure about it. But
Yeah.
I think the whole FNAF world thing, it explains stuff like there's this boy putting together pieces, and it's the whole box thing. The box is open in FNAF world, so
Yeah.
it makes me think that it's because the voice at the beginning also says like I'll put you back together, which makes you think that
Yes.
it's the crying child in FNAF world who is putting these memories or whatever back together to create Happiest Day. But that means that
Okay.
so in my opinion, the crying child is there in Happiest Day, but not there, if that makes sense.
I think I know where you're trying to get, like his influences there, if anything.
Yes, yeah. But he's not the actual spirit who gets freed.
I think I'm part of the two spirit theory on this, where it's more of a Stitch Race the situation where the crying child is kind of just like at Golden Freddy, doesn't know what's going on, is just kind of there, whereas Cassidy is more so the pilot.
Yeah.
I think I'm there mainly because while Golden Freddy is like very violent and seemingly very powerful,
Yeah.
it comes down to the it's me for me. I don't see a reason for Cassidy to be saying it's me.
Yeah. It's also the logbook as well. That's one of the other things. It's
The logbook.
It seems like that's clearly two people talking to each other. It's clearly like Cassidy and the bite victim. But it's like, are they talking to each other in the same body, or is it like in the spirit world or whatever you want to call that?
Yeah. I do wonder why we get Cassidy's name and Mike's name, but not the crying child's name. Because I don't think the Evan evidence was strong enough.
The weirdest thing about Evan, the whole Evan thing to me, is that there are actually multiple ways to get Evan, but they're all not perfect. Like they all miss a letter or two, but there's still multiple ways to get Evan, which makes me feel like that's right, but also it's not perfect, so it can't be right.
Yeah. I mean, Evan always fell under the category of like, is it correct? Probably not. But is it like is it a problem if you assume it is correct? Not really, because like, what does that change?
Yeah, because besides Garrett, which could not be Crying Child, we have no other name, and it's annoying to call him Crying Child every time.
Because we have a name for every other goddamn character. We have a name for all the missing child incident kids. And we still don't have a good evidence-backed name for the Crying Child.
It's weird. I don't know why we don't have a name. I think it genuinely is in the logbook, but we've just not figured out how to do it, or maybe there was a mistake and Scott didn't realize, and it can't be solved. But
that's a possibility. I mean, maybe that's what the movie is going to tell us. It's just like, hey, it's Garrett, move on.
Yeah,
and like no other lore from that movie is important.
Yeah, if it's that, I wouldn't mind. I just want a name.
Yeah,
I want
exactly. I just want to
to
stop saying
him.
The Crying Child. Like it's such a clunky title.
It's
especially because there's multiple crying children in this game.
Yes. There are at least like 10, if not 11. Crying children. So.
You could argue 11. I mean 12 if you count Charlie, since the puppet cries when she's in it.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
I've been a while ago. I was like, I'm gonna write down in my notes. I'm gonna solve the logbook. I'm gonna put weeks into it. And I'm gonna do it.
Yeah.
I just could not There's no clear thing of where to start. Even it's like
because like with everything else in that book, I think most people could get to Cassidy. Yeah. And I think most people could like piece together that 3 people are talking here.
Yes.
But there's no hints towards there's no good like understandable pathway to a crying child name.
Yeah, and everything is like either 2 or 3 of the same pattern, and then the fourth one is just completely different. So it's like, why would you break that pattern randomly? It's annoying.
Yeah,
I hate the logbook.
There's so many weird things about the logbook.
It's a weird thing because it also messes with like how canon is this logbook? Like, is it an actual item that these spirits are like riding in? Like, what's going on there?
I like the theory. I don't know if I believe it, but I like narratively the theory I've seen where it's like Mike goes like as a security guard long after these restaurants have closed to 1, 2, and 3 at different points with this logbook trying to figure it out. Like I like that narratively. I don't know if I believe it. I kind of wish it's true because it's cool.
Yeah,
it gives Mike something to do and a purpose.
Yeah, because there is that like 30-year gap kind of between FNAF 1 and 3 and 6, I guess. Where what is Michael up to? Like, what is he
he's just vibing being a corpse, I guess.
Exactly. No matter what, in like at least in 10 years time from FNAF 1 or whatever, he is a corpse. So what is he doing for like 20 years?
Yeah, it's so strange. Weird. Because that's the only thing I could see, especially because that's why I think the only lore that we might get from the movie is that might be the clarification that FNAF 1, maybe 2, but definitely FNAF 1 and definitely FNAF 1 is Michael going back long after it has closed, and it's just closed. Listening to pre-recorded messages.
Well, yes. Yeah, because Phone Guy's messages aren't live. They're pre-recorded. But yeah, because that's a strange thing about the movie too, because there's like Easter eggs and stuff that point it to being way past 1993. Like it's past 1995. So it's like it's definitely after, at least in the game timeline, after it would have been closed anyway.
And I'm in the signs like destroyed. I think even in one of the trailers, it's like, oh yeah, it's been closed for a while or whatever. So
yeah. They said it was like Freddy's used to be big in the 80s and now it's shut down. Blah blah blah.
Yeah. So I think if we get any lore from the movie, it's gonna be that and maybe the crying child's name. Besides that, I think it's gonna be fully separate.
Yeah,
I hope it's gonna be fully separate.
I had a friend who was like, "Oh, it's gonna solve so much," and I was like, "No, calm down. It's not gonna do much." And I hope people don't go into it thinking it will.
Yeah, no, it's a big question mark, but I guess that's so. Golden Freddy, to kind of round our way back to it. Yes. So you're of the opinion it's just Cassidy. I'm Cassidy and Crying Child. Follow-up question. Alongside Golden Freddy, who is the vengeful spirit?
Okay.
I think it's got to be Cassidy.
Yes, Cassidy.
Like, it has to be.
I said on Twitter a while ago, even if the whole like Stitch line, like all the Stitch Ray stingers, even if that's canon to the games, I still think it's Cassidy until Andrew takes over or whatever. Because it's just if Cassidy isn't that, then it kind of feels like it's just another dead kid. Like she kind of loses that importance, but we know she's important because there's the logbook. It's a whole big setup. Like, oh, here's the name.
And I mean, the screenplay post.
Yes, the screenplay where it's like
where he's like the Cassidy screenplay would be great for lore. It's like, oh, well, okay, so that's true.
Yeah, and he says it's the most accurate screenplay. So it's like, okay, so that's true. So I think no matter what's canon to the games, Cassidy at one point is definitely the vengeful spirit, and in Ultimate Custom Night is the vengeful spirit.
Yeah, like I think I would. I'm a really anti Andrew in a lot of my theories. Like I refuse to believe Andrew's in the games. If I'm in the movie and the name Andrew gets said, even in passing, I'm walking out of the theater. I'm so anti Andrew being in the games just because of the complete lack of game evidence for it.
Yes, that's one of the things I would absolutely hate if Andrew is canon. Like it's I'm on the same wavelength as you. I've created multiple videos saying, please no, like this can't be right.
Yeah.
But it would be annoying because there is because even the death of Andrew, that means we have a death that hasn't been shown, but it's apparently the most important. So
yeah,
it
especially
would be
to end that like first story of 1 through 6 with something that has never once been referenced in 1 through 6 is just you can't.
Exactly. It's like that's why even if Andrew's canon or whatever, Midnight Motorist is not about Andrew. Like I've seen a lot of theories about that. In my opinion, that would just be stupid if that's about Andrew.
It would be so out of left field, especially like with already linking it with Later That Night in the Rain, linking it to Security Puppet. Like there's so many other good connections that you can go.
Yeah.
And none of them are Andrew.
Yeah, Andrew is just I hate Andrew with a burning passion. But
we hate Andrew here.
Yeah,
I'm gonna make a custom poster in the back of the set that's just I hate Andrew.
This is the anti Andrew club.
Exactly. So yeah, that's Golden Freddy the Vengeful Spirit. I thank you again, Sir Hammy, for your question. Actually, this also kind of goes into what we were talking about before. So Evan, thank you for your question. Him. Do we actually play as Michael in most of the FNAF series? And if not, then who is Michael in the game's timeline? So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, sister location, and 6.
Yeah. Those
I
first
think you can very easily argue at least 1, 3, 4, 5, 6. I see hesitation with 2.
Okay. I personally just say they're all Michael just because it's like it makes sense. In my opinion, it's just also like just a slightly better story. It's like he's involved in everything. It just, I don't know. To me, I just say Michael.
I say generally Michael. I will say with FNAF 2 specifically, and this is my hang up, it has to take place in 87 because the toys are still there.
Yeah. And the paycheck.
So that being said, and the paycheck. So that being said, either like I question why Michael would be there, except if he's just Fritz Smith.
Yeah, well, he would have to be Fritz
like
Smith.
If Jeremy Fitzgerald is someone else, that's maybe the Bite of 87 victim, that's somebody else. Yeah. And then Custom Night comes up, now Michael's here. Yeah. I could see that.
Yeah, because I'm pretty sure that's Custom Night is where Fritz gets fired. And it's like the same reason as Michael, whatever.
The tampering, the odor.
Yeah,
and all that.
That's my main, like, that's why it would make sense to be Michael, even if he's just there just to, I don't know what his motivations would be, which is annoying.
It's weird because part of it, I like some people have been saying that pre-sister location, he's kind of working with William in a way, like kind of like doing whatever William tells him to.
Yeah.
I see that, but I also see the tampering with the animatronics thing. Maybe he's trying to get his dad caught.
Yeah.
And he's trying to be like, I kind of know what's going on. Maybe I can find evidence for it. And that's why he gets fired.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Michael's motivation is always weird. I think Isaac kind of in the back of my mind have kind of said like, because of the crying child, he feels guilt. He's trying to redeem himself, but also it's just weird because there's not much else to really say. Like, here's why he's doing all of this. Here's why he's even like he's going into FNAF 6 knowingly and willingly. He's staying there to die. Like there's some deep motivation there, but we also know that he will follow William's instructions because he goes down to Circus Baby's entertainment and rentals. He does that willingly as well. Willingly,
repeatedly.
Yes.
And specifically just because William told him to.
Yeah. So it's Michael's motivations are weird. It's what...
Yeah. And we get so much personality from him from the logbooks too that don't really line up with who we see in Sister Location. Yeah. Because in the logbooks, he's like, man, I hate this place. Everything about it's weird. I'd want to lock Freddy in jail. I wish I had laser. Like all this like very playful, like, I hate this place stuff, which wouldn't
keeps
to
going
me
back.
line up with who we hear in Sister Location. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a weird thing.
So
with
then it's
Sister
like
Location.
the logbook later on? I don't know.
With the logbook, I say it's FNAF 3 times because there's the FNAF 3 office.
Yeah.
But that's what I was saying before about how it could not, those illustrations could just be like Scott said, just do an illustration or whatever. Like that could just not be an important illustration. But that's why I kind of say it's FNAF 3 times. And he's like writing in it just to, I don't know.
I mean, do we also think it's important? It might not be, but do we think it's important that in Help Wanted, in Pizza Party, the last place we're in before we go into a back room to get killed is like a renovated real version of what FNAF 3 tried to look like? Like that, does that mean that might be important? Because that's the only times we see the FNAF 3 office are when it's a fake haunted house, and then when it looks like a real pizzeria in the logbook and in Help Wanted.
Yeah.
And that's strange.
It is strange.
FNAF, man. All right, we'll move on to the next question. So your answer for what is Michael's purpose in the timeline is, I don't know.
Yeah, that's what I mean. The movie hopefully will tell us, like,
maybe,
because I think if I remember correctly, there was like an article or something that said it's something to do with his brother. Like he has this guilt, which could go for that. He's just trying to feel redeemed by going through these locations and freeing the soul, well, trying to free them or whatever. I don't know. But yeah, I don't know. Yeah. Michael's motivations are all over the place.
Strange. All right, so we move on to the next question. We'll go with this one. I didn't get a name for this one, and I didn't want to say your email because your email is your first, middle, and last name. So I don't know how much of that you want public. So if this is you, tell me what you want me to call you next time. But your pronouns are he, him. If you could retcon one thing in FNAF or get rid of one retcon, what would it be?
Ooh,
I think that one's really interesting.
That's a really good question.
Because it's a matter of, like, I don't know what would be more important. I guess we can say what we would do for either, right? Because I'm like, part of me is like, would I rather retcon one thing or get rid of one retcon? As if I had to retcon one thing, I think it would be the Dead Child incident. I think that's unnecessary, or link it stronger with Follow Me, just to make that more clear.
Follow Me.
Because there's no answer for Dead Child incident right now.
Yeah. What to retcon? That's such like a... Because you have to think about the ripple effects of it as well. Like, if you change this, what does that change?
Mine doesn't really change the timeline.
Yeah, exactly.
But it just makes the timeline cleaner.
FNAF 2 spirits, they're just kind of whatever. I would agree with that. What would I retcon? In the dream world, what would I retcon?
There's a lot of, like... interesting points there that could be the retcon.
Yeah. I think I would agree with Follow Me as well, maybe. Just because it's like...
Follow Me in general makes things really weird timeline-wise.
It does, because it's whether it all takes place in one night or multiple nights or what.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's a really good question. It's very pondering.
I will say with Follow Me, I've been of the opinion that I think it's all one night, because I think the original remnant that's in the toys, or that's in the Funtimes, is from the toys, and that's him going back for more.
Yeah. I'm on the it's like per night or whatever.
Because it feels so weird that it would be he does all of these things and then comes back later for the suit. That feels a little weird to me.
I've chalked that down to there's the thing in the books, if you remember, in I think the Silver Eyes, where he does not talk to Charlie or the rest of them until he's given his mask, and he's like, I feel powerful, I am Springtrap, and he like starts talking and all that. So I've kind of gone like, oh, maybe he needs that suit. He feels like he needs it.
I could see that. Or it could even be a matter of Because he goes back for it. So if it's just he needs it, I feel like he would have taken it originally.
Well, yeah, that's what I was just thinking. Like, he could have just
but it
taken
could be
the
matter of like it's shown so many times when he's in that suit, the robots and the the ghosts see him as Bonnie. So maybe it was an attempt to get the Funtimes to quell.
Yeah, I mean, you could also say maybe it's not him coming back just for the suit. Maybe that's the night he breaks Golden Freddy. Maybe that's like...
I could see that.
He breaks Golden Freddy and he's going to go grab his suit, and that's when the spirits trap him in there. And
then they start to turn. That would also make sense with Cassidy, too. Of the idea of like the violent one is now here.
Yeah, yeah. Because people do question whether Golden Freddy, even as an animatronic, is a robot, or whether it's just this ghostly spirit thing.
Yeah, it is weird that I feel like the Golden Freddy we see in the games is not physical. Whereas there is a physical one somewhere in there. Yeah,
because it does it teleports. There's no doubt about it.
100%. It 100% teleports.
So it's just the spirit representing itself as Golden Freddy, or Golden Freddy's robot suit has supernatural has superpowers.
Which are both options, frankly, especially if you look to how Golden Freddy functions in the Silver Eyes. Both of those could be true.
Yeah, in the Silver Eyes, it is, they see it. It's in...
Yeah, they all see it, and that's the only one that directly talks to anyone too, because that's what
that's right. It's the whole I forget who thing as well.
Yeah. And then that's the one that appears to stop all the other ones. Don't worry, do not hurt them or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would probably just retcon the DCI just to clean it up a little bit, because that's the one thing that really bugs me. That would be retconnable, because Midnight Motorist bugs me, but I wouldn't retcon it. I just want more answers about it, you know?
Well, that is true, because if you retcon Midnight Motorist, you could be retconning something huge. You don't know what it is.
And I could like what Midnight Motorist is.
Yeah, exactly.
I just don't know what it is.
I would agree with the DCI, but I think then you kind of got to ask then why are the toys so angry? Why are they malfunctioning and all that?
Yeah.
But you could just say it's their coding breaking.
It could be the coding. It could be the fact that they use parts from the Wizards to repair them. Maybe something is attached to that, maybe? I don't know. It is strange. That whole area, FNAF 2 in general is just a big question mark.
But yeah, I would agree with that. I would retcon that as well.
What would be one retcon that you would get rid of? That you do not like that retcon?
A part of me... Sorry, you go.
I was gonna say, this also has to be it also assumes that we know for sure.
Yeah, we know what it is.
But I guess,
yeah.
An assumed retcon. What assumed retcon would you get rid of?
Would you say that the Burn Trap ending was retconned? To be Princess Quest?
I don't think so. Mainly because, yes, the Burn Trap ending has a cutscene, but you could argue that the Vanny ending also does as well. Yeah. And of the two endings, because at least before you go good or bad, you do have that fully animated cutscene. Yeah. So I wonder if those cutscenes happened, but the context around them is different.
That's true. I forgot about the fact that there is that cutscene where Freddy gets destroyed and all that.
I made a whole video about my predictions or whatever. I was talking about the ending for 10 minutes, and as I was editing, I was like, "Oh yeah, let me grab the cutscene they use in there." The cutscene they use in there.
Wait, what? It's because if that was actually a retcon, I don't know. I would want to keep the Burn Trap ending, but I think only because I feel like it would give us more answers to continue from the Burn Trap ending, if that makes sense. Because just the Princess Quest ending, that leaves the blob unanswered. It leaves what would have happened to Burn Trap, or what is Burn Trap. It leaves that, because without Burn Trap, it's what is the point of the Sorry, wait.
No, I know what you mean. Like without Burn Trap, a lot of it just kind of crumbles. It's weird that
Yeah.
like we would have Burn Trap and Vanny, and then suddenly neither of them are here anymore.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's the other thing. Vanny isn't even in the Burn Trap ending anywhere. So it's like
Yeah.
that then leaves her unanswered as well.
Which is like, okay, does that mean that like a version of the Burn Trap ending happens after Princess Quest, and that's why Vanny isn't there? Because Vanny
yeah.
should be there. Like
Yeah.
you could argue that like, oh, Burn Trap or Glitch Trap or whoever couldn't get to the Vanny ending, but
Yeah.
why wasn't Vanny at the Burn Trap ending? Like that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, and it's like if the Burn Trap ending 100% didn't happen, then it's kind of like, what was Burn Trap then? Like, why did that even exist? Like, what was Vanny trying to do?
Yeah.
It's
so I think I agree with you. If that is a retcon and it's not just something we're missing right now, which very likely, but if it is a retcon, I would not like that to be a retcon. That feels strange.
Yeah, especially it really annoys me that it's like one of the only animated one. Like everyone can agree that it's the 100% fully animated ending. The other ones are comic books or like even the one where we do have the Freddy being destroyed, it then leads to a comic book. Like it's very weird.
Like things happen after that.
Yeah. I don't know if it's just a time constraint thing or.
Yeah, I don't know. And then as far as for me, I don't know what retcon I would get rid of. I think it would be less of a. I don't want to say the indie games because I think that's a healthy thing for the franchise.
Yeah, to have that sort of
move on from being so strict.
Yeah.
I think I wouldn't get rid of it. I think I would rather it be just a bit more clear on what that entails.
Yeah.
Like, not like saying exactly what the indie game thing means, but just at least like maybe when it says indie games, don't show us the Scott thing, show us a clip from one of the games that we can immediately be like, that was a retcon. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like just something. I think that I like the retcon existing. I just think it would have been a bit more clear.
Yeah. That I think another one, just a small one, would probably be like the whole save him and then it's Charlie, like a girl.
Yeah.
I feel like at that point you might as well just like, why did you change? Like you could have just kept that.
Yeah, it could have just been like the whole thing could have been the same, but it's just Charlie could have been a boy. Like
yeah. Well, yeah, exactly.
That's fair. Yeah, it's
not
like
that
an
it matters
unnecessary
or anything,
retcon.
but it's just unnecessary.
Yeah. Oh well, thank you for your question. We've got a couple more. We're hitting about an hour, so I guess we'll do like one or two more questions. So this one is from Dr. Ghost or Jaden. I'm gonna say Dr. Ghost because it sounds cooler. He, him. Thank you for your question. My question: Toy Chica's Beak. Why? If you disregard the fact that it could be chalked up to the indie game dev, what do you think its current deal is in terms of the story? Was it a retcon? Was it trying to what was it trying to tell us? Scott went out of his way to point it out. Yeah, like multiple times.
Yeah. I don't know why Scott specifically called that out. That's still been weird to me. Why Scott called that? Like I've said that it could be evidence for Toy Chica causing the bite of 87, and it could be like a whole like a sort of teaser for that. But then again, it's like he's called that out. Like that's something he said you should be looking for. Like you should be looking for an answer within that. So it's like, why?
Now I guess it could also be because he's only called it out before Sister Location. Am I wrong? I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, it was.
He was calling out a lot during
thing.
FNAF 4, like during the game theory thing.
Yeah.
So I wonder if at the time that was just meant to reinforce stream theory, and maybe now it is like not important anymore.
It could be a case of that. It could just be as simple as that. It just doesn't matter anymore.
He always saw his friend with a Toy Chica that the beak would always fall off.
Yeah, and he thought,
then in his nightmares, Toy Chica's beak falls off.
Yeah, because it is weird because it was like in that game theory stream he was doing these like really seemingly important like hints and all that, and then he just goes the Toy Chica beak. What? Why? Like there was
like so many really important things, and then like, what about Toy Chica? It's like, what do you mean? What about Toy Chica?
Yeah, why does that matter? But I think it was in Dorko's interview with him. He also said that in FNAF 2, Toy Chica's beak coming off he just thought that looked cool. So then why did he just make it actually important?
Do you think all of this is because he didn't think enough people appreciated how cool it looked, so he just wanted people to keep talking about it? Like, hey, here's a lore thing. This is dope.
Yeah. It was like, look at the beak missing. Look how good that looks. Why is it?
I hold true. I think a way that the toys could have been a bit scarier but still remain realistic is if Freddy and Bonnie did similar things with their snouts, where they take off their snout and then they have that smooth open mouth. I think that would be a bit stronger.
Yeah.
Yeah, the eyes for sure.
Because the eyes, it's like black.
Yeah, Bonnie's eyes don't do it for me. Like I get like that is a specific like fear to trigger the like realistic eyes.
Yeah.
It does not work for me.
That's like, well, have you been afraid of a FNAF? Like, have you genuinely been afraid of a FNAF game before?
I mean, when they first came out, sure. Like FNAF 1 when it first came out, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But also, was I afraid or was I startled in a like somewhat frightening environment? I think the only one that has ever made me truly afraid, and it's kind of cheating, would probably be Help Wanted. But like it's VR, so like that's a totally different realm. Like VR horror, I have such a problem with. It shuts me down. Like it's not even like I don't scream. I just like sit down and close my eyes. Like
but that makes it so that's why it's one of my favorite games, FNAF VR.
Yeah,
because it's the one that even if you've like experienced it 1,000 times, you can still be surprised with the jump scares and all that. Like just because you see it in full, like if that makes sense. It just,
and like the animations in it are super strong. Seeing them like walk past you and they're like 8 feet tall really puts it into perspective. Yeah,
especially in the first playthrough, you're wondering where are they going to come from. That is
and
effective.
like I couldn't play. I've played Help Wanted for like a year now. It took me that long to finally do the Night Terrors levels because I was like, I couldn't, something about it. The moment you go into that bedroom and then like Funtime Freddy's laughing at you from the hallway, I would just quit. I would just pause quit level. Like I just couldn't handle it.
Really?
Something about it. And then now that I've played those ones, they're not as bad now that I know how they work.
Now you know how they work. Yeah.
And like it's sound based. That's the thing. So like I always kind of know where it is because it's sound based. The one that still gets me now, and I can play it, but it to me is the most frightening in that entire game, is the Funtime Foxy levels. Only because you don't have that audio indication. You only know when you flash.
Yeah, and it's also like completely random. Like
it's completely weirdly random.
It's one of those ones where there's not like an exact here's how to do it.
Yeah, just do your best, good luck.
Yeah, pretty much.
Now, to be fair, I have not played the hallway one very much, but that one's like, I feel like that one's too busy to be scary.
Yeah,
it's too much going on to have those like quiet moments where FNAF does get somewhat scary.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's also why FNAF 4 is kind of cheating in its scares, because you have to turn up the volume so you kind of react because it's so loud as well.
It's so loud. Yeah. No, I've never been able to beat FNAF 4. I usually get stuck around night 4 and then I'm like, I'm tired of my ears being just destroyed playing this game.
That's fair. Yeah, that's fair enough actually.
But yeah, so that would be, which question was that?
I completely forgot the question.
That was Toy Chica. We got there. Yeah, Toy Chica is not important anymore. I'm 90% sure.
I don't think that Beak really means much, because I just think Scott was like, yeah, it's cool. It just looks cool.
Yeah. This is probably gonna be less discussion because I kind of just agree with it. So this was from Apex Dragonoid. Him. Thank you for your question. Do you think it's possible that each of the Funtimes in Sister Location represent an Afton family member? And then they kind of go into the reasonings why, where we have obviously baby Elizabeth. Ballora would be Mrs. Afton. Funtime Foxy would be Michael, and Funtime Freddy would be the crying child. I don't have their reasonings pulled up, but from what I recall, Ballora and baby, because obviously. Funtime Foxy was because of all the links with Michael and Foxy having the mask as a teen and all that.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And then with Funtime Freddy, Crying Child has been linked with Freddy a few times, like with the FNAF 6 poster, and also he's got the toy Bonnie that talks to him and calms him, or Bon Bon that talks to him and calms him down, just like in FNAF 4 where he has the Fredbear plush that'll talk to him and calm him down.
I've not even seen that anywhere.
I've never seen or thought of that, and like I read all of that and I was like, I don't know if this is a question, because I'm like,
it makes a lot of sense, especially if you're like,
that's a really good explanation.
Yeah, because also like Elizabeth says, didn't you make her just for me? Afton could be just creating like these robots to represent his family, and it's like that could work.
And it
I've
also
never
works
thought about
thematically
that.
with William, because like he always has, like with Security Breach, it seems like he's trying to, or whatever is acting as William right now, is trying to recreate the Afton family. So like the Funtimes even like could follow that theme.
That's a good. I've not heard that. I'm surprised about it.
I've never seen that.
Yeah, these days with FNAF, we've heard everything. Like literally everything.
Yeah,
I've not heard that one before. That's good.
And I was like, I read that. I was like, this is gonna be such a quick question, but like, because I don't see any problems with it. Like I just read that, I'm like, as well. Check, correct. Like,
yeah, that does work. He could have just been inspired by his family.
Yeah, I guess we'll go to the next one. Apex Dragonoid, good on you. I was like, yeah, that's a really good theory. And I've got one more question, which is good because we're about an hour 10 right now. This is from Cloudy, pronouns he, him. Thank you for your question. The lore by now has gotten so tangled, capital T, I saw what you did there, to a point that maybe it's just best to remaster the old games and start fresh so the story can be cleaned up a bit. Do you agree? I don't know. What I could see, I guess now that we have the indie game Retcon, I feel like we can't.
Yeah.
I feel like that could have been the other option, is do this instead.
Yeah, I think, well,
because I would want the games to come out and just give us all the answers, obviously.
Yeah, because that would ruin.
I need to make money and have a channel.
Yeah, you can't do weekly theories if everything's solved.
Yeah, no, it's all over at that point. It's gonna turn into like a Pokemon channel at that point.
I think,
but
a remaster. I think those games were good for the time they came out. I think.
Yeah,
I don't know about because FNAF Plus, that is a thing. Like that's the remastered FNAF one, but it's not lore related or anything. But
yeah,
I don't know. I don't know.
You're right. Like I don't know if they would hold up necessarily. Even remastered, like that gameplay style works better as a extra mode onto a full game.
Well, yeah. Even like remember Sister Location that had the FNAF 1-esque mode as just an add-on to it. Not like a full
Which I
game.
think I'm still disappointed Security Breach doesn't have that.
Yeah,
I think that would have benefited majorly.
I think it tried
to add that on. Yeah. Like even if they just like on an extras menu give us a very like even like click team style, very basic FNAF gameplay, I think that would have made a lot of people very happy. Yeah. And I'm surprised there hasn't been any fan games using the Glam Rocks in that location making a game like that. Yeah, I'm so surprised that I haven't seen that.
That's true. There's probably like a mod to put the Glam Rocks in FNAF 1 or whatever. But to have an actual like uniquely based on like Security Breach
how map. Based on how they function and things like that. It's surprised that we don't see it.
Yeah. But I don't know about remastering the old games. I think in my opinion they're perfect for what they are. Like I don't think they can you can recreate that and keep the same, let's say, magic. If that makes sense.
I agree with that. I think I could see maybe releasing a new game that takes place in that part of the timeline to clean things up.
Yeah,
I could see doing that a few times, but as far as literally just like making the same game again, but slightly tweaking the lore and making it prettier, like I don't see that working.
Yeah, like a Fredbear's game. That would work. I would like that.
I would love a Fredbear's game.
I would absolutely.
I think at this point the whole fan base is like, yes, please, especially after Ruin. Like the whole fan base is like, hey, Steel Wool, in that one Games World interview, you said you wanted to make a Fredbear's game. Hey, Scott, let them.
Yeah, I think that's what they're building up to because there's so many like Fredbear references, right? Like
oh yeah,
so many.
Like we get the posters and the Freddy Singing Show or whatever it was.
Yeah, I think it's just waiting for Scott to say yes. He's not saying.
Yeah, really.
I think he's worried about touching that early timeline.
You want to know why? It's because he's gonna have to make a decision.
Yeah,
and he doesn't want to.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
The lore gets to be incredibly vague if he doesn't actually make a game in that timeline.
He can keep people questioning.
Exactly. But thank you for your question. And I guess that'll be all the questions for today. So again, thank you to our guest. HyperDroid, do you have anything you want to shout out? Any big videos coming out?
First of all, thank you for having me. This was great. We got a little off topic every now and then. But that's
the point of it. We can't talk for an hour and a half on topic. All right?
That's true. But no, I have a very big video. I don't know when this is planned to come out. If it's still
this should come out on the 8th.
Okay,
it's planned to come out on the 8th.
If everything's on schedule, which it should be, and it has been so far, in 1 week time, I'm releasing a mega video that will be for 6 hours, 8 hours, maybe. It's huge. It's going.
I knew it was a mega video. I didn't know it was going to be 6, maybe 8 hours.
It's going to be long.
God damn.
It's basically, it's, for those who don't know, it's, well, I've only really talked about it on Twitter, but it's called Five Nights at Freddy's The Supreme Guide. It's basically a mix of the ultimate guide, the character encyclopedia, but accurate, but not and as unbiased as possible. There are some things that like a little biased, but I've tried to step away as much as I can with the bias. But it goes through every single, especially the books. It's going to be very helpful for those who don't want to read. I'm going to give summaries for all the books, give you gameplay detail, like how to beat each game easily, all the secrets. And for up and coming FNAF creators, if you want to be like Rytoast, if you want to be like me, you can just, there's Google Drive. There is a Google Drive that has every single asset you will possibly need. Like, I'm not joking. There's like 1,000
I'll tell you what,
assets.
I will be using that. I'll tell you what, I will be using that because my assets are all ripped from like Google Images and are all different sizes and like it's the worst.
There's about 1,000 like so far. I've not even finished the video, so there's probably more to come. But there's at least 1,000 assets just for you to use in your videos if you want to create or whatever. But yeah, it's a big video. I've been working on it for a long time. That's why my channel's kind of been dead for a while.
Well, I mean, hey, this will help freshen it up. I will say, genuinely, I'm sure many people are going to be saying this, but thank you for that, because this has been something the community has needed for a long time.
Yeah.
And nobody could or had the time to, no, it's just such a big task.
Well, yeah, I was explaining it to my parents because they were like, what is going on with your channel? Like, you're not, like, no offense, you're not doing much. And I was like, no, trust me. And I was like,
I'm cooking. Don't worry about it.
No one's, maybe you, but no one else is crazy enough to spend so much time on something like this. Well, not even you, because you have to do weekly videos. So
I couldn't. No way could I do this. I don't even have a backlog, so like that's why videos come out at like 6 p.m. sometimes.
Yeah, I tried. I tried weekly, and I was like, nah, I don't know how Rytoast does it.
Barely is the answer. It's like
the last day it's finished.
Pretty much. It's but no, genuinely, I'm so excited to see it. And as a frequent video essay watcher, I will be watching it in its entirety.
I don't think so. I don't think you'll be able to. It's long.
You say that. If you're a YouTuber, Quentin Reviews.
No, I haven't.
He makes these like 6 to 8 hour long videos on just topics, and recently he's been doing a lot of like older live action Nickelodeon shows.
Oh yeah.
And Victorious was like 3 7+ hour long videos.
Jeez.
And I've watched all of them. Not in one sitting, mind you, but like I love me a long video essay.
Yeah, she's. I was gonna say because
I will say part of me has half a mind to convince you to title your video a brief introduction to Five Nights at Freddy's.
It's just that would be a good title.
Just for this, I'll inspect element just for the screenshot with the timestamp and that title. So,
but yeah, it's the retention on that video is gonna be like 3% throughout.
It doesn't matter because the RPM is going to be crazy.
Yeah,
That's all
it will be.
matters.
It will be.
But yeah, no, I'm super excited for that. Keep an
Thank
eye
you.
out for it. I will try. I'll try to remember to put the link of that in the description when it comes out.
Yeah. Okay,
For now,
thanks.
it won't be for the first week this is out, but you know,
Yeah.
his channel link will be there, so you can get there that way. But yeah, this has been the Freddy Fazbear's Pizza Podcast. If you have any questions or theories you want reviewed or potential collabs or anything like that, the email is freddyfazbearpizzapodcast@gmail.com. The link is in the description because it's a hassle to type. This is on YouTube Music, YouTube, Spotify, Amazon, and Apple, wherever you get your podcasts, except for everywhere else because I only have it on those. Thank you again for watching Freddy Fazbear Pizza Podcast, where the pizza abilities are endless. We hope to enjoy your future patronage. Bye-bye for now.
Bye.